Alright, so today we're going to be talking about this printer. This is the printer that I did the video on a while back, showing my design on Fusion 360 and kind of my progress on the whole thing. And I said I was hoping there would be a series of videos. Unfortunately, I think this is probably the end for this particular one. A lot of things went wrong. I also learned a lot. So we're going to talk about what went wrong, how I can print them in the future for potentially a V2 of this printer, and also some other printers that I currently have in the works. So when the last video came out, I had actually already started printing a couple of these pieces. I slowly assembled it as I printed them, and eventually got to a printer which did print out some pieces. I'll put some pictures up of them on the screen. As you can see, they are of terrible quality. Can barely even make out what it's supposed to be. This first one here had a bunch of layer shifts. After playing around with it for a lot, I was able to get a good one, which still looked pretty terrible, just minus the layer shifts. And I just never really was able to get usable prints out of that. So the number one reason for this is, of course, I didn't use any actual linear rails or rods. Everything here runs on printed rods. Also, the lead screws I used, which are printed, have a fair amount of backlash. Not actually too bad, and I don't think it was the main cause of print quality, but it certainly wasn't helping. So you may notice that a couple of parts are missing, like there's no stepper motors on it, and this extruder is missing pieces. Because I've already started kind of harvesting parts from it for other printers. Because I wasn't going to go spend $40 on more stepper motors when I just have a bunch sitting in this printer I'm never going to use again. But yeah, as you can see, this is just not very secure. The bed especially, the bed was the big issue. Because when it would ride back and forth, I mean, it's just, this is very, very bad quality. Also, these Zeppelin springs are nowhere near as springy as they should be. You should not be able to just compress the bed by that much so easily. I also had issues with this hot end. It also never had any part cooling on it. That probably also wasn't helping the print quality. This little duct here that holds the fan onto the hot end, I had quite a few issues here. I also had to reprint this piece that actually holds the hot end to the carriage. I had to reprint that a lot of times because I was getting heat creep, which was causing this to heat up. It would heat up the screws, and then the hot end would just melt out the threads and it wouldn't stand correctly. This is the best I've gotten so far. I mean, I've stopped trying by now. I could make a much better one that actually works now. Yeah, I was trying on and off over a course of multiple months to try to get it to at least a functional state. But even if it had bad quality, I just wanted it to work, and I never really got there, unfortunately. And the problems go back to the hot end. So I bought this hot end from eBay, and I received it. I did like 1 or 2 prints on it, and they worked as good as the picture showed. They had terrible quality, but they did print. They did stick to the bed. It was a actual printed part. Then I started having issues with it jamming. So I went to open it up and noticed that the PTFE tube wasn't all the way down to the nozzle. And the reason for this was because this is a normal Mark 8 Creality hot end. And the way these work is the PTFE tube goes all the way to the back of the nozzle and goes up against it. And the heat break that they have in there isn't really even a heat break. It's just a tube for the PTFE tube to go into. And that tube, PTFE tube, at least this type, is 4 millimeters outer diameter. That one must have been drilled to, I don't know, 3.9. So the tube was very tight to go down, and I couldn't get it to go down deep enough to go against the nozzle. So I got a refund of the hot end. They actually let me keep it, which was nice, because it was what's the word? Defective product. That's what I'm looking for. Um, and I bought another heat break that was an all metal one. That one worked for a print or two, and it would clog. Now this one, I could open it up, clean it out, put it back in, and it would work for one or two more prints, and it would clog again. And I'm sure I could, I mean, it's clogged right now. I'm sure I could open it up, clear that out, and get another print off of it. But again, at this point, it's just not really worth trying anymore. I did learn a lot from this. I learned sort of the basic principles of how to build a printer. I learned how to set up Marlin firmware. That was probably one of the most difficult parts. That took quite a long time. Also, stepper motor VREFs, that was complicated. The end stops, I had some trouble with the pins being in the correct place. And I learned a lot of design in Fusion. I've actually gotten a lot better since this project even, but this was my first really big thing in Fusion, and I've learned a lot during the experience and since it. Now this might not be the end of this printer. I really like the kind of form factor of it. I also really like the idea of trying to have as many 3D printed parts as physically possible. So in the future, I might make it another one where there's a V2 of this that has tighter tolerances for these rails and maybe a different design. So maybe I could get another printer that looks similar-ish to this that also has printed rails, because I just think that's really cool to have as many printed parts as possible. But as of now, that's the end of this specific printer. I do actually have some other printers in the works as well that should be videos on. One of them is actually done and has been done for quite a while, and I use it actually fairly often. And it's a pretty cool, unique design that kind of plays off a similar idea as this, so that should hopefully be out soon. There's also another one I'm working on that is quite a step up from this one, and even the one I just mentioned that works. This is this one's a RBO printer, I guess. This one obviously doesn't work. The last one I made works quite well, but it's really small. It's kind of slow, has some issues. This one's gonna be not big, but bigger and much faster. That's the goal of that one. I don't want to give too much else away because I don't know. I kind of want to be a surprise, I guess. But I'm just waiting on a couple more parts to ship. It's mostly built by now. Still, will be a video on that one. But yeah, I think that's probably gonna be about it for this video. So look out for the video that I have on the printer that's finished. That should be out soonish. The printer that I'm working on, that'll be out. That's almost done. That'll be out whenever I get that last part, or two parts, I think. And then also, and this will probably be multiple amounts of time in the future, but a V2 of this will also eventually, I would like to get out. So I will see you in those videos.